Hi, my name is Lavinia. This is Peter. Welcome to Games Made Easy, a channel where we learn board games quickly and easily. Today, I'm very happy to teach you and give you tips on how to play Seven Wonders, one of my favorite gateway games. It's a real classic in my house. What I love the most in Seven Wonders is how beginners can learn this game very quickly, but it also keeps experienced players very excited as well. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. In Seven Wonders, you play a city-state, competing against other players to become the most powerful civilization. You do this by collecting cards which represent the resources, structures, and wonders you can add to your civilization. As your civilization grows through 3 ages, your buildings combine and become increasingly more rewarding, and you develop your city's military, science, commerce, special abilities, you earn gold. All these make points, so at the end of age 3, the player with the most points wins the game. To set up the game, start by sorting out the cards in 3 decks, 1 for each age. Depending on the number of players, you might need to remove some cards for each deck. Seven Wonders is a 2 to 7 player game. Today, I'm going to show you how to set up for a 4-player game. Only keep the cards marked 3+ and 4+ as shown at the bottom of the cards here. You should have 28 cards left in age 1 and age 2 deck. For the 3rd age, you also need to set aside the 10 purple cards. These are guild cards. Randomly draw 2 more than the number of players. So here we take 6, keep them secret and add them to the other 22 age 3 cards. Then you put all the 5, 6 and 7+ cards and the unused guild cards back in the box. Shuffle each deck, place age 2 and 3 face down on the table and distribute the entire age 1 deck. Each player should now have 7 cards. There are 7 types of cards in Seven Wonders and they all have pretty much the same design. First off, the bottom left corner is the name of the building. It is important because you cannot have the same building twice. Then the color of the card indicates what type of card it is. Brown and gray are resources, and blue, yellow, red, and green cards are structures. On the top of each card, you can see what the card does. Brown cards have raw materials like clay, wood, stone, and ore. If the card shows 2 goods separated by a slash, then that card produces one of these 2 goods per turn. In age 2, the brown cards have 2 icons. These will produce 2 of each good per turn. The gray cards are manufactured goods like glass, papyrus, or loom. Blue cards are public buildings and give points at the end of the game. Yellow cards are commercial structures which usually provide coins or goods. So this one would mean that you can buy the resource from the player on your left for 1 gold if that player produces it. Red cards are for the military and allow you to battle neighboring players. Finally, green cards are science buildings. They have 1 of 3 symbols. The more symbols you have, the more points you score at the end of the game. In age 3, we also have the purple guild cards, and I'll explain those later. On the top left is the cost of the card. If it's empty, then the card is free. Otherwise, you need to produce that good or pay its cost. Also, some buildings will give you free access to buildings in the next age. That's shown in the bottom right corner here. These can be very powerful. To see which building gives access to more buildings, check the rules here. Then you give players 3 gold, and you're going to distribute a wonder randomly. Players agree whether they're going to play side A or side B. All wonders have 3 stages on their side A. Most wonders also have 3 stages on their side B, except Giza, which has 4 stages, and Rhodos only 2. The stages are not linked to the ages. You can build as many stages as you want in any age. Also, each turn the wonder produces 1 of the raw materials or 1 of the manufactured goods shown in the corner here. Keep the military tokens and the gold coins close by for easy access. Now we can start playing. All three ages play the same way, and all the players play at the same time. So it is one of those rare games where adding players doesn't add game time. Now, to play, each player is going to take their 7 cards, is going to look at them and pick one card and place it face down in front of their wonder. Once all players have selected their card, they can do one of 3 actions with that card. They can choose to keep the card as a building, they can choose to sell the card, or they can use it to build a stage of their wonder. If you decide to keep the card as a building, you have to pay its cost. If the card is free, you place the card face up in front of you. Now, if the card requires a good and you produce it, then you can also place the card in your city. If you don't produce the resource, check if your neighbor, that is the player directly on your left or directly on your right, produces that good. These must come from brown or grey backgrounds, including the wonder. They cannot come from a yellow card or the stage of a wonder or a card that's just been played this turn. If it just requires gold, you just pay the bank. You can buy from both your neighbors at the same time as long as they produce enough. If both your neighbors produce, then you can just pick the one you prefer to pay. The one thing you can't do is buy from a player across the table. You normally pay 2 gold for each resource you need to buy. But some of your buildings, like trading posts or a marketplace, let you buy materials or goods for only 1 gold. The arrows show which neighbor offers that discount. Here, the East Trading Post offers a discount on these 4 goods produced by the player on your left. If the card requires that you pay gold, you need to pay for this before you can place the card in your city. But remember that the coins earned through commerce can only be used in the following turns. You cannot use the money you've received in payment to buy the card you're building this turn. Finally, you can never refuse to sell a good to another player. It's important to understand that brown and grey buildings represent production, not the resource itself. So, for instance, it is possible to sell to another player or even 2 neighbors and still use that production for yourself this turn. Keep the brown and grey cards together under the wonder like this. Other cards of the same type are kept together like this, making sure to show both the type of card and its name visible. These cards represent buildings that will be available until the end of the game. If there is no card you can pay for, or if you need the money, you can sell a card. Discard it to sell it for 3 coins. Discarded cards go face down in a pile, but players can check the discard at any time. The third option is to use the card to build a stage of your wonder. Here, you do not put the card face up in front of you. Instead, you put it face down under the leftmost empty stage of your wonder. To do so, you need to cover the cost of the stage, not the cost of the card. So, for instance here, you do not need 1 gold, but you need to produce 2 stone for the first stage. Then the second stage would cost 3 wood, and the third stage of the wonder 4 stone. As you can see, some of the benefits are points at the end of the game. Others have immediate effects, like in Rhodos, this one will give you 2 military strength. Here you'll get 9 coins. Some you need to time properly. This one, for example, you don't need to meet the requirements of a card once per age. For this one, as soon as you've completed this stage of the wonder, you can go into the discard pile and get a card. You don't need to meet its requirements. On side B, this is the same for all 3 stages. On this one, at the end of the game, you can decide to use 1 guild from each of your neighbors. This one, you gain immediately 1 strength, you get 3 victory points, and you get 3 coins. This one here, instead of discarding the 7th card, you're going to keep both cards. This one gives you, every turn, either a glass, a loom, or a papyrus. Once you play the card, you're going to pass the deck to your neighbor, and you're going to receive the other deck from your other neighbor. In ages 1 and 3, pass the cards clockwise, and in age 2, counterclockwise, as shown here. Once players have played their 6th card, they're going to discard the last card, and that is the end of the age. Now we're going to resolve the military conflicts with their respective neighbors. For this, each player compares its military strength to both its neighbors. One by one, compare how many shields you have compared to your neighbor. The player with the most gains 1 victory token +1 in age 1, +3 in age 2, and +5 in age 3. The losing player always receives a -1 defeat token. Now, let's see what happens at the end of age 2. Now, let's start with this player here. This player has 4 shields, and if we compare the strength to this one has 3. So this one has 1, and they will get the +3. This one will get -1. Now we compare to this other player here. Again, he has 1, so he will get +3, and this player here will get the -1. Now we move on to this player. This player here has 1 against this player, so we'll get a +3, and this one gets the -1. Then this one is going to compare to this. They tie, so nothing happens. Then make sure to keep the tokens on your board, and you keep these tokens until the end of the game. Now it's time to start the next age. Now take the new deck and distribute 7 cards to each player. We've seen that age 2 cards are slightly more powerful than age 1, but pretty much the same. Now for age 3, it's a bit different because we have no more resource buildings. However, we do have guild cards. At the end of the game, your guilds let you score for some of your neighbors' buildings. These for yellow, blue, red, grey, green, or brown buildings of both your neighbors. This one 1 point for both you and your neighbors' completed wonder stages. This one gives you an extra science symbol, and this one gives you 1 victory point for each defeat token in your neighbor's cities. And finally, this one scores 1 victory point for each of your brown, grey, or purple cards. As soon as the players have played their last card in age 3, then the game ends and we count the points using this notepad. So we're going to count this player's points. We start with the military. This player has made 10, has lost 3, so that would be 7 points. For the coins, you make 1 point for every 3 coins you have. The leftover doesn't count. So here, this would be 3 points. For the wonder, here they've completed all 3 stages. That's 15 points. This player doesn't have blue cards, so 0 there. Now for the yellow buildings, it has 1 point for every brown card. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The wonder, this one here doesn't count. Then we have the guild, and in this case he has Magistrate's Guild, which means that we're going to count the blue cards of its neighbors. Then we have the green. He has 1 set of 3 different symbols, so that's 7 points, but you can also score for identical symbols, and you take the square of it. So here, for example, it would be 2 times 2, so that would be 4 points. This is 1 point, and this one here would be 5 times 5, 25 points. Now, if this player had had this card, it would be 6 times 6, 36 points. So in total, it would be 36 plus 7 plus 4 plus 1 for a total of 48 points. The player with the most points wins the game. In case of a tie, it's the player with the most money who will win. If you still tie, then you need to play again. My tips to win at 7 Wonders are: be flexible with your strategy depending on the wonder you receive and the first hand you're dealt. You can get a lot of extra gold if you produce the resources your neighbors need. Try to use a card that your opponents will need to complete one of the stages of your wonder. It takes a lot of commitment, but if you start early and you combine a lot of the free buildings, the wonder, the guild, you can make a lot of points with science. That's how you play 7 Wonders. It's a great gateway game. It's one of those games that you will finish and you're going to want to play again. It's fairly simple to learn, but there's so many ways to win. It really is one of those brilliant games that you'll play over and over. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, or if you like my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. The link is in the video description. If there's any game you'd like me to teach, leave it in the comments. We'll make more games easy soon. Bye now.